You know, when I was little, or at least younger, I really loved the anime. But really loved it. Like, weirdly, it was the most important thing in my whole life. I watched everything I could, I downloaded everything I could, illegally, yeah, but there was the time. I played everything I could, and I absolutely loved everything anime and Japan related. So, has every weeaboo ever. But as the time passes, I started watching less and less anime, but I started talking about it. So I read reviews, I watched YouTube videos, being part of the general community. So I didn't notice at first, because of that, that as the time passes, I was watching less and less anime. But I took some time to notice it, because when you read about the anime, the reviews, and you watch YouTube videos, you if you don't watch the episode of your if you don't watch the series, you are being part of the community. You are just not watching anime or reading manga, perhaps, if you are one of the manga readers out there. So I went through this phase when I realized I was starting to watch less anime, to think, do I really love anime, or do I just like to have friends? And has has everything I've done for the past 10 years was talk about and watch anime, then my friends were the same, and then I was in this little bubble. So what I did was stop and think. And I reached the conclusion that I think is something that my younger me would never accept, which is to finally, confidently, 10 years later, say that anime was just a phase. And I know this is controversial. I do still like anime very much. It is not something that I gave up entirely. I watch some anime, like Kimetsu no Yaiba, Attack on Titan. I use it to read Kuroshi Tsuji, and sometimes I still do. But, you know, I think there was a spark and a passion that did not go through the years of my life. When I watch videos from Gigak, for example, he always do like these essay videos about broad concepts, like anime that hit different to him. And what I do think that it says is just like, oh, I have to watch 40 animes so that one of them I will maybe enjoy. And many people talk about this anime burnout, which I think it is a thing, because at first when you start watching, the common phases of anime watchers, when you start watching it, then everything's new and exciting, and everything's mind-blowing because you've never seen anything like that before. But then if you start watching many different um, many different series, but of the same genre, then you start feeling like the plot's kind of repetitive, the twists doesn't surprise you that much as they used to. And I do feel like this is something that when we are young, we hold on to that feeling, and we just don't want to let it go because it feels so good to like anime. I know, kind of a weird thing sometimes, but I do feel like there is a time when we want to be part of something so bad, and it can be like fashion or maybe cars or soccer, and to me it was anime, and I do feel like many people on the internet share that. So the thing is, 10 years ago it was a lot harder. We didn't have Crunchyroll, we didn't have fun animation, or at least not as we have today as streaming sites and or streaming websites. And then when we found it, or when I found it, it's so special when you have to dig down the internet to find a fun translated chapter of a manga you really want. You know, that feeling is very special. And I feel like maybe manga readers relate to that the best. And there was a time before Crunchyroll and before Funimation and before all the streaming sites out there, that every time you wanted to watch an anime, you had to download it illegally. And I can talk about it freely right now because it's something that I don't do anymore because I don't need to, but there is that. So I remember the first time I went to a random website and I had dial-up internet, and I just wanted to watch the first episode of Lucky Star, and I I started downloading it. I went to bed, and the next day it had almost finished downloading the episode, but not quite yet, just almost. And it was like, I don't know, 150 megabytes. So yeah, I think when something is kind of hidden and kind of hard to look for and to achieve and to find, I think that adds to how much you find that special. So as I grew up and I supposedly got more mature and got more responsibilities in life, and got less and less time, at the same time that all that happened, anime became more mainstream. And I'm not saying that it's bad to like mainstream stuff. I'm not trying to be like some gatekeeper of any kind. I love that anime is spread worldwide and everyone has access to it. I'm just pointing it out that the more mainstream it gets, the less it feels special when you find it, because it's really easy and available and free and legal. So you know, that kind of thrill that you had when you find an episode, when you find a series, you don't really have that anymore. And so there was these two separate things that was combined together. So I grew up, I had less time, I had more responsibilities. I just, shift all my concepts and my ideals, as everyone does, I think. And at the same time, anime became wildly more mainstream. I see many people saying that anime has not quite yet become mainstream, but I don't know if I quite agree with that. Because you see, yeah, it is no Avengers, but many people who have never watched anime, they know what it is, they have heard about it. Maybe they are not sure these weird Japanese cartoons, maybe they have some prejudice about it, but they know what it is and they've heard about it. And thus I don't think that you can say that it's something hidden gem, unknown, just some people. Also, uh, has as many people who like anime do, I took some Japanese classes, and that actually put more on perspective that Japanese culture, although heavily influenced maybe by Western culture a little bit. I don't know. Um, the idea that they have about otaku is kind of like the nerds when the nerds were not cool. Not the Big Bang Theory nerds, you know, nerds on the 80s and 90s movies. It's kind of like they see otaku. And actually, taking Japanese classes, I was studying about Japanese culture and was understanding more and more about Japanese culture and Japanese language itself. And I don't know if that's the expected result, but that made me appreciate anime a little bit less. Because I knew that it wasn't that popular, it wasn't that as well seen by Japanese people, and actually understanding it, a little bit of it, while it was cool, it actually made it lose a little bit of that magic, that foreign magic, you know? When you can read something on the screen, it kinda feels more familiar, and well, it was a really big rumbling. But I think that the moral of all of this is when you are young, you have many things you're sure about, and as the time passes, I suggest that you evaluate the things you were sure about, because maybe you just really want to feel comfortable, and you know, sometimes being comfortable is not being true to yourself, even if your pride hurts a little bit. Thank you.